We gather together on this holy night to celebrate the Christ child's birth, all that it conveys about the love of God for humanity and the world, but also the wonder that love knows your name. We gather on this Christmas Eve to welcome Emmanuel, the light of the world, anew. Because even though Jesus was born in Bethlehem more than 2,000 years ago, our need for him continues. And Christ can be born in us today, his love made incarnate among us, if we will let him. The fact that the first announcement of Christ's birth was to humble field workers on the night shift speaks volumes about what the birth of Jesus means. It's a radical reordering of the world as we know it, one where the first will be last and the last will be first, and where love knows and draws near to us, no matter how insignificant we may feel or have been made to feel. And so the gospel writer says, now in that same region there were shepherds living in the fields and keeping watch over their flocks by night. And an angel of the Lord stood before them, and the glory of the Lord shone around them, and they were terrified. But the angel said to them, do not be afraid, for see, I am bringing you good news of great joy for all the people. To you is born this day in the city of David a Savior who is the Messiah, the Lord. And as if that weren't enough, the angel tells the shepherds how they're going to find this child, and the sign the angel shares is just as unexpected. This baby will be wrapped in bands of cloth and lying in a manger, a feeding trough for animals. The favor of God, a multitude of angels, all showing up in the middle of nowhere to people considered nobodies, but with a message more important than any other. Commentator Kayla Craig shares it this way. She says, God could have stayed far away, tucked among the cosmos, but instead God decided to be born to a teenage Galilean girl in a precarious marital situation, vulnerable to oppressive Roman powers. God decided to be born in a place rife with conflict, in a harsh economy, in a divided land. God decided to be born to come as close to us as possible. And so this is a God who knows every human vulnerability and emotion. This is a God who knows every one of us. Emmanuel Atika has a mission of sharing positive, uplifting stories with the world. And earlier this month, he shared a story from Antonio Rodriguez of Detroit, Michigan. I was delivering pizza on a freezing December night when I knocked on an apartment door. A little girl, maybe 6, answered. Behind her, I saw an empty living room. No furniture, no Christmas tree, just sleeping bags on the floor. Mommy, she called out, the pizza's here. An exhausted woman appeared, counting out exact change in coins. As she signed the receipt, I noticed 3 kids huddled in winter coats inside the apartment. Heat's out, she explained quietly. Landlord says it'll be fixed Monday. It was Friday night. I couldn't leave them like that. I drove back to the shop, told my manager I was taking the rest of my shift off. I went to Walmart, spent $340, my entire paycheck. Space heaters, blankets, groceries, a small Christmas tree with decorations. I returned to their apartment, arms full. She opened the door and started crying. Why would you do this? I thought of my own kids, warm and safe at home, because it's cold and it's Christmas and you need help. We set up the tree together, the kids laughing for the first time. She hugged me at the door. You're our angel. Angels are still showing up in the world today, They are bringing good news of great joy for all people, just as Luke's gospel tells us they did to shepherds on that very first Christmas night. This is a piece of artwork I want to share with you. The artist is Nicolette Piñaranda, and she was inspired to create this after reading the same passage from Luke's gospel and thinking about how the birth of Jesus is divine love coming to liberate us, to rescue us, and how surprising it is that for such a tremendous transformative mission, God would show up as a baby. Doesn't that just tell us everything we need to know about the kind of rescue we really need? The kind of good news that the angels proclaimed feels hard to come by in the world today, but it's not hard to recognize when it does show up. We need freedom from our tendency to try to one-up one another or to win by knocking other people down. We need freedom from distorted priorities or relying on brute strength or accomplishment or perfectionism. Freedom from violence and fear and selfishness and greed. We need to know that love knows our name and to have that same love awaken in our hearts for one another, just like a parent or a grandparent or a precious caregiver as they hold a child in their arms. You know, some of the best Christmas stories and movies, the ones that become classics and that people watch year after year, I think they endure because of what they convey about exactly what we're talking about, that love knows your name, that life is measured in love. Some years we need that reminder more than others. Like a group of friends decorating a lackluster tree, shouting Merry Christmas as they do for Charlie Brown, there are people around us today who need friends like that. Or the Grinch getting invited into the circle of singing who's, even after he tried to keep Christmas from coming. What a surprising moment of grace. There is a love that wants to include even him, even me, even you. Or you could think about Charles Dickens' famous work, The Christmas Carol. His words are still moving and meaningful many, many years later. And this piece of writing, it changed conventions in England where people actually started giving their employees the day off at Christmas. It even led some wealthy employers to take better care of their staff because Dickens knew that Christmas shared something important, a message of love and self-giving that could make people's actual lives better. As the Muppet Christmas Carol says so well, it's true. Wherever you find love, it feels like Christmas. To go back to the earlier story from Antonio and the family he met in that cold apartment, he shares, 3 years later, a woman in business attire walked into the pizza shop asking for me. It was her, transformed, confident. I got my nursing degree. We have a house now. My kids are thriving. She handed me $1,500. This is everything you spent, plus interest. You gave us hope when we had nothing. Antonio says, I used it to start a fund helping struggling families during the holidays. We've helped 41 families in 5 years. She contributes monthly. Her kids volunteer with me every Christmas. The gift that we celebrate tonight, my friends, is that love came to find us, a baby in a manger. Love showed up at our doorstep and didn't leave us in the cold. In a few moments, we will celebrate the sacrament of communion together. We will taste the bread and the juice, and will be fed by the grace and the love of God. All of it started on a holy night in a manger many years ago with a precious baby who would show us what love and real power look like. Love knows your name, and that changes everything. Thanks be to God.